We are kicking off today with WWE Smackdown as the company made waves with night one of the draft, which comes amid a pivotal year in the company's history. With the new era well and truly underway, Raw and Smackdown made their picks, with all the champions, bar the women's tag team champions, being protected from being drafted. The inclusion of NXT talent in the draft generated a positive response from the fans, and these new rosters will go into effect on May 6th following the Backlash France PLE. In round 1, SmackDown picked up Bianca Belair and called up Carmelo Hayes from NXT, while Raw retained Jey Uso and Seth Rollins. Round 2 saw Randy Orton and Nia Jax be selected by SmackDown, while Raw snatched up Braun Breaker and also retained Liv Morgan. Round 3 saw SmackDown pick LA Knight and the Bloodline, as represented by Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, and Paul Heyman, while Raw went with Ricochet and Sheamus. In the final round of the night, SmackDown picked AJ Styles and drafted Andrade, while Raw retained the Alpha Academy and selected Kiana James from NXT. The draft picks for the 2024 WWE Draft will continue on the upcoming edition of Raw and conclude with completely revamped rosters for both Raw and SmackDown. But what are your thoughts on the 2024 WWE Draft so far? Let us know down in the comments. When the Bloodline was selected, the graphic featuring the group did not include Roman Reigns, but there was a good reason why Reigns wasn't selected on the night. As Paul Heyman revealed in an interview with Kayla Braxton, Reigns had voluntarily withdrawn himself from the draft in another enigmatic move by the Tribal Chief since WrestleMania. It remains to be seen when fans will next see Roman Reigns, but fans shouldn't expect him to be involved in the remainder of this year's draft. Roman Reigns was not around for night 1 of the draft, but CM Punk was in attendance, and in a photo online, was seen watching the picks being made from the crowd. Punk didn't appear on SmackDown during night 1 of the draft and wasn't drafted to any brand, though that's likely to change this coming Monday. In a post-show appearance, though, Punk did address the fans and gave an update on his recovery, admitting that he's not 100% just yet. He stated, "I wanted to give a little update. My tricep is not a 100% yet, but I promise soon I will be back and be competing with all the tough badass backstage." Punk was then interrupted by Alpha Academy with all 4 members on the ramp, but only the recently turned Chad Gable entered the ring to confront Punk. WWE could be sowing the seeds for an excellent match between the two, but that'll only happen once Punk is healed, and this heel turn could pay off big time for Chad Gable. Back to the draft, and while some of WWE's top superstars will soon find themselves a new home, Brock Lesnar won't be one of them, as he's not in the draft pool for either night. As Fightful Select reports, Lesnar is a free agent, which allows him to appear on Raw and SmackDown, though fans haven't seen Brock on TV since SummerSlam 2023. Lesnar is linked to Janelle Grant's lawsuit against WWE, which has led to the Beast being pulled from all plans, though Triple H has made clear Brock is still with the company. Time will tell when, if ever, Brock Lesnar next competes for WWE, but the free agent isn't going to be drafted next week on Raw. More from SmackDown, and fans got much more than a CM Punk promo after the show, as they also saw the crowning of the first ever WWE Speed Champion. WWE has been filming their Twitter exclusive show at SmackDown tapings, and if you don't want to be spoiled, we recommend skipping the next minute of the video. Before SmackDown began, Johnny Gargano beat Bronson Reed in the semifinals to advance to the finals against Ricochet, who had already qualified. In the Gargano-Ricochet match, it was the one and only who won, becoming the first ever WWE Speed Champion and making history in the process. Ricochet's road to the gold saw him defeat Dragon Lee and JD McDonough before he beat Gargano, and this may explain Ricochet's high placement in the WWE Draft. Braun Breaker defeated Cedric Alexander on SmackDown, but during the match, viewers saw another glitch with clues and messages, including one stating, "Remember who you are." This is just the latest glitch that fans believe to be leading to the return of Uncle Howdy, who was played in 2022 and 2023 by Bo Dallas. One image seen was a piece of paper with the symbol for the planet Pluto drawn over and over, which in astrology is associated with secrets and massive transformations. The Uncle Howdy character was indeed a massive transformation for Bo Dallas, and fans have speculated that Bo could be returning to TV with a faction. Not only has WWE brought back Wyatt family alum Eric Rowan, but a woman has been appearing in the videos, with fans speculating this could be Sister Abigail. WWE has remained coy with acknowledging these glitches in videos, but speculation is rife, and we'll just have to wait to see what's to come in this enigmatic storyline. On Smackdown, tensions were at a fever pitch as AJ Styles and Cody Rhodes signed the contract to make their title match official for Backlash France. After making his entrance to his new theme, which is a step in the wrong direction, AJ mentioned his respect for Cody's father Dusty and admitted that LA Knight had gotten in his head, which led to AJ's loss at WrestleMania. Rhodes made it clear that he would give it all in the Dream Encounter and continue to remain a champion, and Styles and he were able to sign the contract and shake hands. As the segment concluded, Styles said that Cody finishing the story was beautiful, and it's sad his title reign will end so soon, as the Phenomenal One is confident ahead of their match. SmackDown's main event saw Cody Rhodes have his first TV match since WrestleMania, where he took on the newly drafted Carmelo Hayes. The match started with some fast-paced offense as Hayes hit a nice springboard attack, but Rhodes took him down, resulting in Hayes making a retreat. This was a fantastic showing for Hayes and a great main event to night one of the draft, and after both men missed their springboard moves, Rhodes got the win. After the springboard spot, Rhodes was seen clutching his shoulder and fell back in pain, though it's reported that this awkward landing was planned and Cody is not injured. The American Nightmare was selling a shoulder injury, but showed Hayes respect at the end, only to be interrupted by AJ Styles, who had a stare down with the man heel face at Backlash. It's been some time since CM Punk was fired from AEW and returned to WWE, but the lingering tensions between Punk and AEW continue to simmer backstage. One factor in Punk's relationship with AEW crumbling was a rumor that Punk orchestrated Colt Cabana's removal from AEW TV, a claim that Punk blamed the Elite for. That culminated with Brawl out in September 2022, but now more has come to light about Punk and Cabana and how they operated when both were in AEW. In the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it's reported that a source in AEW reached out to the site following Punk's MMA Hour appearance and wanted to give their perspective. The informant claimed that Punk indeed sought to have Cabana dismissed from AEW and said it was for no other reason than their previous personal issues. The source said that resolution requires transparency from both AEW and Tony Khan, and said that Punk's MMA Hour tenure had some true, some distorted, and some outright lies. They also believed what Punk had to say will continue to keep the messy situation alive, and I think we all want to move past it. The informant, who wished to remain anonymous, criticized Khan's defense of Punk, as the AEW president previously refuted the claim Punk wanted Colt gone. The source said, Tony coming right out and saying Phil never asked for Colt to be fired, and continuing to cover for him about that story even now, makes saying anything unsafe for anyone. It definitely did happen. The informant added that Punk made false statements to ESPN prior to his AEW return in 2023, which AEW had to intervene on to suppress. The withheld statements contradicted Punk's denial of involvement in Cabana's dismissal, and the source speculated that legal concerns may be hindering AEW's transparency on the matter. On the MMA Hour, Punk said that he and Cabana spoke one time when he came to AEW, in which Colt wanted to clear the air now that they were working in the same company. Punk reportedly stated that he wouldn't say anything to Cabana without a lawyer and witnesses present in what would be their only known conversation throughout Punk's AEW run. The Wrestling Observer newsletter disclosed sentiments from another AEW talent, described as a major star, who was skeptical of AEW's telling of the Punk-Cabana situation. Despite assurances from Khan, wrestlers reportedly voiced doubts about the situation, and Khan said their concerns were noted but didn't comment further due to legal constraints. These discussions reportedly influenced AEW's call to have a soft roster split when Collision launched, and as we know, Punk was going to be the star of the Saturday show. We all know what happened from there, and Punk's recent remarks and AEW releasing footage of his brawl with Jack Perry suggest that tensions are unlikely to dissipate anytime soon. But what do you make of the ongoing tensions between Punk and AEW? Do you believe transparency is essential, or should both sides have their secrets? Let us know down below. News from a different draft now, as Tony Khan was in the NFL draft war room of the Jacksonville Jaguars, but once again had plenty to say about WWE. When speaking about AEW, Khan brought up his chief competitor and had quite the comparison for WWE. He said, AEW, we've been doing this for 5 years. We're the most successful sports startup since the AFL pre-merger. There has not been a challenger brand that has gained as much market share as AEW in many, many years. We're like the Pepsi of pro wrestling. We're up against an evil juggernaut. WWE is our competitor. That is who we're facing. AEW, like the Pepsi of pro wrestling. WWE is like the Harvey Weinstein of pro wrestling. I'm really proud of what we do down here. Many feel the comment crossed the line, as given Weinstein's horrific acts, there are those who feel it was wrong for Khan to use his name and infamy to take a cheap shot at WWE. That attitude isn't shared amongst the NFL Network though, as Fightful Select report that higher-ups were happy with Khan's appearance on the show, despite the controversial line. One NFL Network contact said that they wanted Khan on the show as they knew he'd get attention following the attack on this week's AEW Dynamite going viral. Tony Khan has certainly been able to gain attention for good and bad reasons, and that's certainly been the case over the past few days. As the Bloodline talked backstage at Smackdown, Kevin Owens launched the surprise attack on the group, which led to Owens and Tama Tonga exchanging blows at ringside. When Solo Sikoa joined the fray, the Bloodline took control, and their assault only stopped with the interference of Randy Orton. The Viper came out to rescue his ally, as tensions between the Bloodline and the pair of former world champions shows no sign of slowing down. But what do you think of this segment? And what have you made to the new Bloodline so far? Let us know in the comments section down below. In recent weeks, a mystery has been brewing on the Blue brand as to who attacked Dragon Lee one night before he was set to compete in his first WrestleMania. Lee was scheduled to team with Rey Mysterio to face Santos Escobar and Dirty Dom, but with the Dragon out of the picture, Rey chose Andrade El Idolo to replace him. On this week's SmackDown, Rey and Lee did team together to defeat Berto and Angel, but after the match, Legado del Fantasma had some shocking footage to prove that they weren't the ones behind the attack. The footage was extracted by Elektra Lopez and revealed that it was the LWO's own Carlito who attacked Dragon Lee and then created the ruse of trying to come to his aid. With his crime out in the open, Carlito blindsided both Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee with an attack and exited the proceedings through the crowd as LWO were left shocked at ringside. The turn by Carlito will likely be addressed next week, but it doesn't look like he's joining Legado based on how this played out. Speaking of LDF, the tag match saw nobody from the faction at ringside to support Angel and Berto, while Rey and Dragon Lee had LWO members in their corner. That was a strange move to make, but what are your thoughts on Carlito being the attacker? Let us know in the comments. It was on a recent episode of SmackDown that Tiffany Stratton tried to insert herself in the women's title picture, and she did so this week with some assist. On SmackDown, Stratton caught up with Nick Aldis and wanted him to put her in contention for the title, but Aldis booked a #1 contenders match between Stratton and Naomi. For Stratton, this match was about breaking into the title picture she feels she deserves, while for Naomi, it was about getting another opportunity after last week's ended in controversy. In the end, SmackDown's new drafting Nia Jax attacked Bayley, who was on commentary, and Naomi also felt the wrath of the irresistible force at ringside. The match ended in a DQ, but Stratton concluded by hitting a spectacular moonsault on Naomi and Bayley, making her intent to be the next WWE Women's Champion crystal clear. On this week's Raw, Dominik Mysterio was supposed to team with JD McDonough in a tag match against Andrade and Ricochet, but showed up to the event with his arm in a sling. Dominik had Santos Escobar fill in for him in the match, and this injury was far from scripted, as the Wrestling Observer newsletter reports that Dirty Dom is genuinely hurt. Dominik's injury came during his match with Andrade on last week's Raw and was said to be a freak accident. At first, it was believed that Dominik would undergo Tommy John surgery, a procedure commonly done on baseball pitchers to repair collateral ligament in the elbow. This surgery would take 9 months to recover from, but Dominik later took to Twitter to clarify that he doesn't need the surgery. While that means Dominik won't need 9 months off, there's no word on when he'll be back, and we're wishing the Judgment Day member a speedy recovery. We've got news from Nick Khan, as the WWE president has registered 234,424 shares of TKO stock for sale, including his restricted stock units. TKO's filing notes that Khan holds 53,894 shares, with the remaining 180,530 shares consisting of Class A common stock that he subsequently owns as well. The filing was made on April 12th and signals Khan's intention to divest a portion of his TKO stock, though it should be said he hasn't sold any stock yet. This comes after Vince McMahon registered all 8 million of his remaining stock in the company for sale, which led some to speculate he wants capital for a new promotion. A source close to McMahon told Dave Meltzer that while Vince is interested in future business ventures, the notion of starting a new wrestling promotion is off the table. But what do you make of Khan's decision to register his TKO shares for sale so soon after McMahon? Do you think it'll change things in TKO? sound off in the comments down below. During the AEW Dynasty 0-hour show, Max Caster delivered a barb about someone being violated that they'd have to inform a legal team that many took as a nod to Janelle Grant. Many felt that the comment was out of line, and it's now been reported that Caster has been suspended from AEW again, and we'll have to see what's next for him and the Acclaimed. AEW Dynasty saw the Young Bucks beat FTR to win the tag titles, but the return of Jack Perry wasn't the only nasty surprise for the former Revival. The Wrestling Observer newsletter reports that Dax Harwood suffered a concussion during the match, and it's unclear when exactly the injury happened. It's also unclear when Dax will be able to return to the ring, and we're wishing the top guy a speedy recovery after this unfortunate setback. In recent weeks, WWE shook things up by introducing new title designs for Raw and SmackDown, which were debuted in the days following WrestleMania 40. Fightful Select reports that the redesign was intended to give WWE greater flexibility, and the key change was removing Raw and SmackDown naming and their respective color schemes. This happened last year with the women's titles, and the move aims to prevent awkward situations such as title trades when the champion is moved to the opposing brand. In previous cases, when this occurred, it led to confusing scenarios where champions would have to swap titles simply because they were now on different brands. Despite these alterations, it was also noted that WWE champions remain committed to their respective brands, even though moves are more flexible now. Ultimately, WWE will do with its titles what it thinks is right, but this move should hopefully avoid any awkward title exchanges from now on. In recent years, AEW has seen serious fluctuations when it comes to attendance for shows, and this week's post-Dynasty edition of Dynamite saw a significant drop. The show did 683,000 viewers, the show's lowest number since January 6, 2021, and Tony Khan will have to think of something to turn this number around. More Backlash as the build towards WWE's first French PLE continued on SmackDown, with 2 title matches being confirmed. In an interview, Bianca Belair confirmed that she and Jade Cargill will challenge for the women's tag team titles in France and will face the Kabuki Warriors. After the number 1 contenders match ended in controversy, it was also confirmed on SmackDown by Teddy Long that a triple threat title match will take place next weekend. WWE Women's Champion Bayley will defend against Naomi and Tiffany Stratton, but Long wasn't done announcing matches just yet. He also confirmed, what else? A tag team match for Backlash, which will see Kevin Owens and Randy Orton face Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga. And that was SmackDown, and what did you make of Night 1 of the draft? Let us know down below, and thanks for watching.